surgical, physical when I'm lyrical. So bat it down with medical, something critical. It's gonna take a miracle. Bright lights look spiritual, written down like biblical. I finally reached the pinnacle. Yeah. Welcome to the house, the one they talking about. Word of mouth, the boxing playhouse, without a doubt. All the latest and greatest boxing news, that's what it's all about.
What's up, guys? This is Sakura A, and this is Boxing Playhouse, baby. And tonight we got a trainer extraordinaire. He is joining us from Las Vegas. But first, let me introduce my co-host for tonight, which is Spanish Ray. Coach, how you feeling?
How you doing, Sakura?
I'm doing awesome. You know, tonight I'm just like really excited about meeting Chris and finding out about his history. And, you know, I got to get some of this sweet science knowledge that he knows. I mean, he's trained with some legendary people that, you know, rest their souls, they're not here right anymore. But he still has the legacy with being able to pass on that sweet science. So that is the important thing that all the legends really want, you know, from our boxers today and our trainers today. So let's go ahead and get it cracking and introduce Chris.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You know, I didn't even want to try to pronounce your full last name. I was going to wait and allow you to pronounce it for me. So let me know how it's really said.
It's Chris Ben-Tchavtchavadze, just like it looks.
Chris, what now?
Ben-Tchavtchavadze, but Chris is fine. Chris Ben's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Chris
all right with me.
Ben-Tchavtchavadze. I'm still not getting it right.
But I know you were talking about me, so.
So where is that name originating from? Where are you originally from?
It's a Georgian Russian name. My dad's side of the family's from there, and then I was born in Canada, but I've been in Vegas for like 48 years.
Got you. I mean, 48 years, that's a long time to last in boxing in any city, but especially in the competitive Las Vegas area. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about how you've been able to ride the wave 48 years.
You know, I kind of just fell into boxing. I was a personal trainer at a gym around 20 years old, and just kind of met some people that were doing a boxing class. And I was always like a fan of martial arts and stuff. And I had a bad hip, so I could never do any of that stuff. But then I kind of figured, hey, maybe I could try boxing. And I started doing a boxing class that Richard Steele was running at the gym I was at. And then
oh my God.
yeah.
So
and then
walk into this gym randomly. And
they randomly came into my gym. Yeah. So it was like a regular fitness gym, but they came in and started teaching that class, and I immediately fell in love with the sport. You know, like I still learn something new every day about it. And then just kind of never set out planning to be a professional trainer, never even was on my radar, and just through my love of the sport, kind of ended up doing it. Kind of with meeting with the right people.
Yeah, obviously, but about what time period was this? What decade were we talking about here?
Like 93, 94 is when I kind of 92, 93 is when I first got started into it.
Okay.
And then there was another fighter. His name was Skipper Kelp. You know, if you remember around the 90s, Skip was a pretty big up and coming guy. And we started off together. We started coaching the UNLV boxing teams, like a collegiate boxing team that competes against other colleges. So like without even ever fought, like I'm coaching this amateur team with Skip. And, you know, kind of next thing you know, I got like professional fighters asking me to hold mitts for them, asking for my opinion. So I figured if I'm going to stand on the outside of the ropes and tell somebody in there what to do, I need to get in the ring and do a few fights myself. I just did a couple of amateur fights just to, you know, I want to know what goes on in the head of somebody that's inside the ring. You know, so even with my bad hip and bad back and everything, I just did some fights just to be able to do it. Went from there, and then we won a national title in UNLV. It was the first time in 17 years where a non-military academy won the national collegiate title. So we had some accomplishments there.
I mean, that's amazing because you're the one of the first trainers that hasn't actually had a long career that actually wanted to get that experience of, you know what, if I'm telling these kids, that they can do this and that, I need to know what that experience feels like. So I got to give you a huge props just for doing that extra step. So
I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah.
now in the 90s, of course, it's all about Mike Tyson at this time. And did you ever run into the gym with him during that time period?
Um, I know Mike. He used to come into that same gym where I was at as the fitness gym, and he was just as cool as could be to me for no reason. I mean, I don't know why, but he'd always chat with me. He'd always, say what's up. He wouldn't give anybody else the time of day. He just in his workout. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, but Mike was just always great to me. I really have a lot of respect for him. I got a really funny story. I was sitting there at the desk, in the gym, and he walks by, and I was reading the Ring magazine, the special edition Mike Tyson magazine. It was like a whole issue just about him. And he walks up and he's like, "Hey, Chris, can I see that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I hand it to him. He's like, "Yeah, they haven't even given it to me. I haven't seen it." So he's like, "Can I borrow it?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you can borrow it." So I figured I'll never see it again. Well, he disappeared. I didn't see him for like 6 months. And one day he walked into the gym, walked right up to me and handed me the Ring magazine. He said, "Thanks," walked off. I looked at it. He signed it on 17 different pages. Like every picture of him, he just signed it
Whoa.
and gave it back to me. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That is like hugely cool. I mean,
Yeah.
which is another great Mike Tyson story because people like to paint broad brushes about people and not realize that hey, you're only hearing like one side of that person's personality and essence. So I'm like, that's a great story. Just
Yeah.
like Ring magazine, you still
Yeah.
got
Great
it?
impersonation too. Great impersonation too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I work on it.
Mhm.
I
I
got
was
a
saying,
few
do
more.
you still have it? Do you still
Yeah.
have
Oh
that
yeah. I
Ring
got
magazine?
it in my safe. I got safekeeping.
It's locked down. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. If you can
Do you still?
see that Tyson picture behind me.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
it.
he signed that for me too. It was I actually drew it, and it was his fight,
Uh,
was the first fight with Evander Holyfield, and they took it into Mike was hanging out at the strip club, and somebody took that picture from me to take it to him to have it sign it, and Crocodile was like, "What's this? Mike doesn't sign anything that he's losing." And then Mike walks up, he's like, "Where'd you get this?" And my friend was like, "Oh, Chris did it at the gym," and he pulled out his pen and signed it and gave it back to me too. So like he always been over backwards to be cool to me.
Nice.
I mean, this is a huge story because Mike Tyson is such a legend right now. He does have that upcoming fight with Jake Paul, and that is a huge money fight. But also, I really like it because of the fact that it's going to put a lot of spotlight on the women's boxing with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor on the undercard.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be global. So it's a huge shout out and it's a huge reach for women. And they can, and a lot of people that don't really tune into women will get a chance to actually, see them too. I mean, what do you think about this fight coming up?
Well, first of all, a lot of people hate on Jake Paul, and in the beginning it was fun too. I did a little bit too, but then you recognize when somebody's actually taking the sport seriously, they're training very hard, they give themselves every opportunity to succeed. If he brings some more fans to boxing, I'm not mad at him. If he gets more spotlight on women's boxing, I'm not mad at him. If he gets some fighters that aren't making money, few more zeros at the end of their paychecks, hey man, I think he's good for boxing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I feel the same way. And you're right. It did take a little time to, get used to the Paul, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now that he does a lot of events here in Florida where I'm located. And so, we can see a lot of the benefits right in our state from him being involved with boxing. So that's when I changed my mind a little bit because I could
Okay.
actually see that this guy really does care about boxers.
Yeah.
And the actual sweet science of it, or at least trying to learn more about it. So
Yeah.
I
I
give him
mean,
props for that.
yeah, he's putting effort into it. You know, he trains hard. He's definitely ahead of the curve for somebody that started late. I have respect for. I started late. You know, I have respect for him. So,
And you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, who you got?
with full respect on Jake's ability and how hard he's prepared for this, and the age of Mike, man, Mike could just catch him. You know, Mike still is quick. He still is explosive. I mean, even Roy Jones said that he's never been hit by anything near as hard as what Mike did in their exhibition. And Roy Jones spent a career of not getting hit and defending punches. I don't think Jake's experience I don't think he can keep himself from getting hit every second of every round, and Mike's just got to land one. So I'm going with the old guy.
Yeah, it'll be the first time someone's in there that, is actually known for knocking out people. And Mike Perry was kind of like a little intro to it, a little practice, but the fundamentals aren't there when it comes to boxing. So, I mean, he's a great athlete. We had his coach, JT, on the podcast a few weeks ago, and, he's teaching him the boxing discipline, but it's still bare knuckles, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
can get away with a little bit more leniency on the rules that boxing has. So I think that Mike Tyson can elevate him and make him a better boxer than he, might think that he's capable of being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that you have a story for me, but I'm gonna let Spanish Ray ask you a few questions before I get into, one of my favorite boxers that I know that you were around a lot. Spanish Ray?
Yeah, Chris, man, thanks again for coming on. You're a stand-up guy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, because I know you as the Prodigy. Now, are you familiar with that, or
I never even heard it.
Well, maybe it's me, because I have a habit of nicknaming guys, and I saw you as being Roger Mayweather's protege, because Roger, he doesn't mess around with too many people. I like to know how you met him, and how did this happen where you became on his disc when he was training guys. He chose you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in the gym with him. There was a gym in Vegas that Richard Steele ran. It's called Nevada Partners, and it was in the 90s. And like Riddick Bowe was in there, Thel Torrance, Eddie Futch trained. So being from Vegas, I was fortunate. I mean, I got to watch all these legends train. I got to see Roger, Floyd Sr. train people, Jesse Reed. So I mostly just went into the gym, kept my mouth shut, and just watched and learned as much as I could. And again, Roger was another one. Roger and Floyd Jr., by the way, they're both just were really cool to me for no reason. Out of nowhere, Roger would always just walk up to me and try to give me some lesson on boxing. And then, when he retired, I kind of didn't see him for a long time. And then Floyd invited me into the gym. And, again, Roger was cool, even though he was diminished, because of diabetes in the state, like he wasn't the same guy. He was still in there teaching them kids, like every single day, effective training the kids. And we ended up doing that video series together. And I wasn't like, I don't have Roger's style for training, but what I wanted to do was teach the same things he was teaching. Teach how to step with your punches, teach how to counter off a defense, teach the stuff that actually going on. And Roger actually was a really good teacher. I don't think people credit him enough for that. They just look at the flashy mitt work and think that's all he was. But he probably did some of his best work in the gym teaching stuff, even more so than when he cornered people.
I want you to see that disc again. I think Roger called you the Prodigy, and you don't know that.
Okay,
I think it came on I was checking out the CD, and I think he named you that.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
We have to have this CD digitized because it needs to be uploaded. Like we got to see it in a different format and access it.
We got it. There's at the gym I'm at now in the Mia Boxing. We got it digitized. We're going to start putting little pieces out of it on a regular basis. So I'll let you guys know when that happens. But yeah, it needs to get out there a little bit. I think there's a lot of good information.
Yeah. He must have liked you to put you on that CD because he's not guys with anybody. No,
Yeah, man. There's some times where he didn't even give me the time of day, and then there's some times where he like just give me the biggest compliment I ever heard. And
Wow.
that's just Roger. But there was I remember when I was working for Floyd, and I'd be in the gym, just training some of the people. I remember one time, Floyd's gym was like a tourist gym, so there's always just people coming in just watching, and some guy came, sat down. Yeah, it was me too for a little bit. So some guy just came in, like I think he was from the UK, just came, sat down next to me. He's like, "Man, this has been my dream day." I was like, "Oh, why? What happened?" He's like, "I got to sit here in the best gym. I got to talk to the legendary Roger Mayweather. He just taught me everything about boxing." And I was like, "Oh man, that's really great. I'm glad you could have that opportunity." He's like, "Yeah, he told me that all these trainers in here ain't shit." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, except one." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, who's the one?" He's like, "He said you." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Sometimes he didn't even talk to me." But he's like, "No, Roger said you were the one trainer in here that knew what they were doing." And so I was like, "Wow, you don't get to hear that often from a legend like Roger."
Yep.
Most people just don't know shit about boxing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that infamous quote that lives on forever for him. You know what? That was the person that I was talking about, and I got used to calling him Uncle Roger. And I understand what you're saying, because when we would come to just visit the gym, even though he was like, diminished, it was like that boxing skill, that knowledge was still being taught. That was the last thing to really, deplenish, I believe, because I mean, he was just still trying to teach kids the right way to do
even he
things.
couldn't even see. He was in there holding mitts. Slapping them in the head if they dropped their hands. Like he was still after it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's plenty of times where we saw him at fights for Floyd, and he's just walking down the corridor, and I'm like, "Hey, Uncle Roger." He's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? How was Florida?" Like he would like actually remember your face and who you were.
Yeah.
So, he didn't know me by name or anything, but he just recognized me and my fiance. So it was just like, wow, we just got through talking to Roger Mayweather, the Black Mamba of the sport. So I was like always a big fan of his. And then they started calling him the Mexican Slayer too.
Yeah.
He had so many Mexican fights. Did he ever discuss any of those fights with you?
Not really. He'd always hit me with some crazy boxing question, like out of left field, nowhere. Like what part of the country are the best fighters from? And he always say the Midwest. Or I remember one time he hit me up at Nevada Partners. He's like, "Chris, you know how come there ain't no great white fighters?" And I was like, "No, Roger, I don't know why there's no great white fighters. Why don't you tell me?" He's like, "To be great, you got to have three things. You got to be quick. You got to hit hard. You got to know how to box." He's like, "Ain't no white fighters got all three." And I was like, "Okay, thank you for telling me." He's like, "Except one." And I was like, "Well, Roger, who's the one?" He's like, "Skipper Kelp." And I was like, "Roger, Skipper's half Vietnamese, half American." And he's like, "God damn it, that's white enough for me."
He's like, "I'll take it. We'll get that one."
Yeah.
That's
He was always coming with something crazy like that. It was fun being around him at the gym.
Yeah, like if he was around today, he would know that the European boxers are like hot stuff right now. Like they're a different breed than what they were in his time period. Now he would be able to actually say, "Okay, such and such, great fighter."
Yeah, there's they got there's different style of boxing, but they definitely box. Like there's different purposes what they do when they're in the ring, especially the Eastern Europeans and the Russians. It's different, especially with YouTube now. Like some lonely fighter in Mongolia can learn all the best things in boxing just by turning on the internet.
Video. Yeah, and that's what I was saying too about the training video that you have is like so significant because it's also archiving somebody like Roger Mayweather. It's like almost like a historical video now, that you can actually see his personality and learn some of his moves and how he teaches. And so it's very important. I mean, it's one reason why I love having people like you on the show as well, because it's also archiving and documenting some people that are not acknowledged as much as they should be, because you've
Yeah.
dedicated 40 something years to the sport yourself. But when you're training and you're behind the scenes, you're not really the actual boxer. Sometimes people like you are overlooked, you know? So I wanted to make sure that we definitely incorporate trainers such as yourself and people that's behind the scenes.
But I really appreciate that. It's a hard, like a trainer, until you get that one guy that makes it, then you're overnight success. People don't realize that it took you 40 years to get there. I mean, I have some good prospects. I wish I was in the position to be a full-time boxing coach and just do that, but I still have to do other things to
Mhm.
make a living. So I'm
Right.
giving my guys I don't have a quantity. I'd like to say I have quality with my guys, just because I don't want to spread myself too thin. But I have a good group of fighters right now.
I believe you
You
got
know,
to
it's
go to
a
Puerto
fun.
Rico, right? Puerto
Yeah,
Rico?
I got a prospect. His name is Jamar Pemberton from St. Louis, and he's fighting October 11th on the MVP show in Puerto Rico. So my first time in Puerto Rico. Looks like that's going to be happening coming up in October.
Good luck on
Yeah,
that.
that's yeah, definitely good luck. And also, I mean, you might have an entire different career traveling around the world if things work out with some of these guys that you currently are training. I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, you can all of a sudden attract attention after so much hard work.
Yeah. It's yeah, you just got to keep plugging away, believe in yourself, believe in your fighters. It's just, find a really hard time getting guys fights right now, especially
Right.
up and coming guys that aren't established and don't have a resume already. But eventually something will happen.
You know, and also I don't think there's as many fights in Vegas as they were at one period in time. So it's gonna take some travel for you guys to, for you to get your guys some fights. And right now, I'm in the fight state. Like we have more fights than any other state right now,
Oh,
including
wow.
California.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
So, because we have the Pro Box fights here, we
Yeah.
have Box Lab, and Most Valuable Promotions. Matchroom has been here recently. Don King Promotions is in the Miami area. Top Rank has fights here. And then, of course, we just found out that PBC is going to be bringing some fights here as well with Tim Zoo.
Oh, wow.
So right now, this is like a really hot time period to be in our state, which is so fun,
Yeah. I've had a few fights with the Pro Box people in that little resort in Orlando.
Yeah,
It's man, they put on great shows. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely. Well, you said Orlando?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's Box
Box
Lab
Labs. Yeah.
Promotions. Yeah, they're pretty cool. We actually are going to one of their fights Friday. That is in association with Most Valuable Promotions, and
Okay.
that's the Prospect series that they're
Okay.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Is it
hopefully
on the
I
zone
might
or is
be able
that a
to see
different one?
you. Yeah, it's gonna be on the zone. Yeah, it will
Okay.
be.
Yeah. There's a couple of the fighters from Salas's gym here in Vegas that are going to be on that.
Mhm. Yeah, they have
Kevin
a lot of boxer. Kevin Brown, yes.
Brown, and then
Santos,
and
yeah.
Gomez.
Coach
This kid
Santos.
Gomez is so good, man. Oh,
Oh, Gomez,
he can
yeah.
fight. Yeah, he can really fight. Another Cuban kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing pretty good matchups with these guys. Like, it's like to really build their skill level up. It's not like, a bunch of fluff fights building people's records. Like these guys are really, it's a great matchmaker involved in matching them up. So
Yeah,
hopefully you
I
can get
understand
with
they're
them and
fairly
I can see
competitive.
'em.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that maybe you can link up with some of them and start getting some of your guys on the cards here. Then we can meet in
I
person.
hope so. Yeah, we need to make it happen.
Hmm. Okay, so basically, I was gonna get into a story that I have about Uncle Roger, which is something that a lot of people don't really know. Being that I'm a woman in the sport, I love this story because the first woman photographer was given her first chance to be a photographer for a boxer. Guess who that boxer was that gave her permission? And her name is Linda Platt.
Linda Platt must have been Roger.
You're damn right it was. Like he was like, yeah, you can, take some shots of me, no problem. And she talks about how she was able to take those photos and really, like shop it to the ring and do, different boxing papers. And then she has like some world-renowned photos of like, Durant and some of his fights and Sugar Ray. So like she's like really well established.
Oh,
She's
wow.
retired now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's retired now, but she's the first woman photographer for boxing.
Oh,
So
wow.
I thought that was a really cool story. So he was not discriminating. He was like, yeah, no problem. I'll do a female photographer. He was a great guy. All right. So I also wanted to talk to you about your personal life. I know you have family and this and some kids, and sometimes it's really hard on the families of boxing trainers because so much of your time is dedicated, to the boxer or boxers and the being at the gym. So, how have you fared in that category?
It's tough. We got 2 older girls, 14 and 18, and then I got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old boy, and they're a handful. And if I have to go out of town for a fight, my wife has to take care of everything. So it's tough. So I try to come home as early as I can during the day. I try to give my fighters the time that they need, but I don't. To try to keep them separate, where I don't sacrifice what my family needs from me as well.
And I know they're super proud of you. Like, when it comes to family, we might not say it every day, but I'm sure she's super proud of the work that you put in. And it's also helping a lot of young people be off the streets and focus on a sport, that gives them a lot of disciplines, a lot of different life lessons are learned in boxing.
That's what when somebody first comes into the gym, they don't realize how hard boxing really is. Like, you see just what your image of is, it's this, and there's so much more to that. And as soon as they tell me how hard it is, I was like, hey, look, life's hard. You got to do hard things to be good at life. And boxing's a good way to learn how to do hard things.
That's true.
If there's one thing that you could give a child, if you only had like a week with them, what would be that lesson that you would want to set up for them?
In boxing, you're talking about boxing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the gym.
Probably, I can't narrow it down to one. I'll say 2 things. Foundation, just like having the basics, knowing that you'll always fall back to a good stance, good position, good distance, good everything. And then also mental toughness, I think, is what separates more top people from everybody below. If you, like when I first got into boxing, it's, oh man, that guy hits hard. This guy hits hard. And you can kind of, you get intoxicated by that. And then you learn a little bit more that it's not really all about that. There's timing, there's speed, there's skill, there's this. And then being fortunate to spend all the time with Floyd and watching him train and spar and fight, you really get to learn how much mental toughness plays. Like no matter how horrible the first 4 rounds went, you got to believe in yourself and know that you have the capability and the intelligence to turn the fight around for yourself. And it takes mental toughness to be in the gym and train when you don't want to. It takes that same discipline and everything. That those 2 things are the most important things to learn. And it's I try to teach my guys how hard, I have to push them as hard as they can be pushed until they learn how to push themselves harder than I can push them. That's what I usually tell them.
Yeah, that's cool. See, that's deep right there. I don't know how much of that you got from the Mayweathers, but to be able to enforce that in a new prospect, it's like gold. Like that's like number one. It's like the mentals. To me, the mental is like way more outraging than the athletic ability that it takes to be a boxer.
Yeah. Every time you do something that you're afraid to do or that makes you uncomfortable, you get a little stronger at everything that makes you uncomfortable. So you could take a lesson you learned in the ring and turn it around and translate it into real life. Like they definitely go back to back and hand in hand. You know, so I definitely been lucky to learn that from the Mayweathers and some other people in boxing. And I've seen young kids grow up, you know, over the last 40 years that, you know, came back to me 20 years later saying, you know, the stuff I learned in the gym, like, helped me in life for the rest of my life. So that stuff's good to hear. You know, whether or not they became a world champion or not, it's still good to hear that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Spanish Ray, you got something else? Because we're going to get ready to wrap it up here so
I'm
he can
glad
get home to his family.
I'm glad that he brought up, you know, what he teaches first. After all the years that I've been in the game, of course, his foundation in jab. But it's funny, I was going to ask you about the martial arts. And how far did you go into martial arts?
I always liked watching it, you know, like I was just really interested in it. But I had such bad hip problems and back problems, I couldn't do anything. So
You familiar with this? You familiar with this?
I can't really see it too good. I don't know what that is.
Ring. This is a ring, right? This is Wing Chun. I teach my guys. Yeah, I don't even do the jab no more because when I see fights, you know, they don't block. And the reason why they don't block, they might catch the shot. They might catch it. But they don't block. Block with conviction. Like they don't put the glove here. They catch and shoot. This device here helps you block, but not just block. You actually hit with the block.
Yeah.
You hit, and then you go. So I use this a lot to teach them first, because to me, without defense, how far are you gonna go? And these guys, when they get happy hitting, they don't realize that it's a I hit you, you hit me, I hit you. And these fights are like, okay, well, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't see things like that.
Yeah, I always tell my guys, a good defense keeps you in the fight. A great defense sets up offense that wins the fight. So it's not just enough to block everything. Man, that's why one of the kids I like right now, up and coming, Shushu, man, he does exactly what you're talking about right now. He does it in a way that makes you want to watch him again. You know, he just doesn't squeak by with the easy victory. He makes the fights compelling and exciting. He's definitely, you know, we all like Inoue and Boots and all the good, you know, Bud and all them. But Shushu, I really respect him. He's a disciplined kid and he does some really amazing things in the ring.
One last question for you, Chris. Who you got? I heard Tank just signed to fight Rayo, right?
Oh, I didn't even hear that. I didn't even hear that.
I heard that today, but you can't believe everything that says on YouTube. But it's not.
That's Valenzuela, right? That's Valenzuela.
Yeah. Just be Cruz.
Yeah. I heard today they had the fight done. They got the fight done.
You know what? That's an interesting fight because Cruz gave Tank a really hard fight, and Rayo beat Cruz. You know, so Rayo is definitely one of the mentally tough kids. He's mentally tough. He makes adjustments. He tries real hard. Tank might have just that little X factor, and he might be able to walk him into a punch somewhere around round 10 or something. I don't know.
I got one more for you.
Yeah, I got 5 or 10 more minutes.
I got one more for you.
Yeah,
we're gonna God willing, we're gonna be getting Manny Robles on here to discuss the Virgil Ortiz fight. Did you see the fight? Did you see that fight?
Yes.
What's your opinion on that?
So, Virgil Ortiz, I mean, it was a good competitive fight, first of all, and I have respect for both fighters. What was the other guy's name? The Russian guy?
Remember, I know he was the champ though. He had the belt.
Yeah. To me, Virgil did not just rely on his name and the fact that he's the name guy to win. Like, especially in the later rounds, he pressed the fight. He made the action. You can argue round for round, like who won. You know, I'm not gonna pick on anybody that says the other guy won, but Virgil Ortiz definitely gave the judges a reason to vote for him. That's just my opinion of the fight.
You don't think it could have been a draw?
No, it definitely could have been a draw. It definitely could have been a draw. But he did the things that the judges like to see, I think, when it mattered.
What about meaning you've been in the game so long? You remember back in the days, you had to take it from the belt, from the guy that had the belt. You had to actually take it from him. You couldn't just You know, you have to do more than. What do you think about now? You think that has changed with the judges?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some fights where, you know, whoever the main guy is for the promoter maybe get an edge, even if he's not the champion, if he's the guy, you know, the A side, like you said. I mean, should you, you know, what's the defining line between taking the fight from the champion and winning more rounds than the other guy did?
Do you
I
think
don't know how you define that line, you know?
do you think he deserves a rematch?
Oh, definitely deserves a rematch. Yeah, without a doubt.
But
I mean, as a fan and as, you know, for fairness,
absolutely.
yeah, for both reasons, I want to see a rematch. But it didn't surprise me that the judges picked Ortiz because Ortiz pressed the fight. To me, it looks like the last 4 rounds, he was trying to take it from the champion.
Okay,
Maybe
but
he might not accomplish that early in the fight, but
right,
at the end
right.
of the fight, he was trying to take it from the champion.
Now the thing is with that is right away now they're trying to get him to fight Crawford. Crawford's not interested. But my whole thing is give the guys rematch. You know, give him his what he took the belt for him. Unless they fought without a clause in there, that must have been the deal where they didn't have a clause for a rematch, correct?
They must have. I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not always in the back room with the business end of boxing, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're just seeing the more money they can make with Crawford. That's where I mean
Yeah,
they're aiming for that. But
yeah,
as a fan, you know, we'd like to see the rematch. It was a good fight.
I think they took the
Yeah,
contract. Go ahead.
this guy actually name is Suri Brahachik.
Hmm.
So that was the opponent. See,
Mm.
sometimes when you got a more difficult name, right, Chris? It's like you like the fans don't remember the name or they can't
Yeah.
pronounce the name, and then it kind of fades off faster. You know, it's just harder to get well known when the name is more difficult because the
Yeah.
name is not being stated as many times. And that was a great fight. I mean, I think Virgil was down in the first and the eighth round. I need to check that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
first and the eighth round. So that made the fight more to me a draw.
Yeah.
But somebody was like, oh, well, you know, was it really a 10-8 round? Because some judges might say that's still a 10-9 round. And so these are all things that play into to
Yeah.
me, it plays to the fact that that's why people don't like to get it to that judge, you know, where you got to see the judge's cards. Like it's
Yeah.
better if you just can get your guy out of there early and then there's no debate about what the judges scored or didn't score, right?
Yeah. I always
Um,
tell my fighters that are turned pro, I was like, look, you got one of the hardest jobs in the world. You're fighting another man in front of you that is life and death. Like you're in a real fight. So A, you got to fight him. B, you got to convince the judges that you're the one that's winning the fight. Doesn't mean you
Hmm.
are winning the fight. You just got to convince the judges that you're the one that's winning the fight. And then 3, you have to do that in a way that makes everybody that's there want to buy a ticket the next time you fight. That's hard to do. Like it is really hard to do all 3 of those things.
all of
You know?
those basically be entertaining for the fans. You got
Yeah.
to be like not just hit and don't get hit. You got to make it look special. You got to
Yeah.
make it look fun, and you got to have that action. And you know, that's some things that kind of like for me, I'm like Shakur needs to take a playbook from Floyd and figure out how those 1 or 2 punches can really count if you can make them look exciting, if you can make
Yeah.
it look fun, if you make it look like it really hurt the guy, you know.
Yeah.
So those are things that I think he can work on. But you're right. It's like incorporate the entertainment, get the damn win, and don't get effed up in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You have
they
to
can
protect
tell
yourself.
you to get because
Yeah.
you can be out for months and months because like for Virgil Ortiz, it says he's out until September. He's got that suspension
Yeah.
because of those 2 drops, you know. So you know, it's a lot that like some just regular fans don't really understand about boxing.
Yeah, Ray, what do you think? I also thought the Crawford fight was really compelling because, and I thought Crawford clearly won, but we're just not used to seeing somebody make Crawford uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
man, I'm horrible with all these fighters' names, but the Russian kid, he had a great feint. Like he kept kept Crawford from finding his rhythm. But I thought Crawford's jab, and then the fact that later on he's like, okay, I'm not finding my rhythm. I'm just going to go have to fight. He started throwing good combinations, started working the body really good. Like he had all the momentum at the end. You know, we're just not used to seeing Crawford be as ineffective as he was. That's why a lot of people thought, like, oh, it's so close, or maybe he didn't win. Maybe it was a draw. But, you know, in my book, I gave it to Crawford. What'd you think?
I think it was ring rust. I think it's been a while since he was in there. Everybody don't realize that it's been a minute since he fought. So
it was a year. It was a year to the month that he had fought. And it's a lot of people. It's a lot of boxers now that they're not being active enough. You know, because they only have to fight. Like normally, people now they're like, if you got a big name, it's like okay, 2 times a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, but then you have people like Bud. I always go with him no matter because it's like he got so many tools and he's gonna figure out something. And you like even if you give him problems at the beginning, he's gonna like figure out something by the end. And then if he gets you hurt, it's like ridiculous. Like if he smells blood, he's really one of those killer instinct type boxers, right?
And he doesn't take anything for granted. You know, he doesn't take his name for granted. He's like, man, it's up to me whether I win this fight or not. And he takes responsibility for sure.
And that was Ismail or Israel Madjanov. Madjanov was the opponent. And that was another thing because
he was the champion and it was Crawford moving up. Yeah, that was. Did he take the title from the champ? Like, yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah, I see that.
Estimate these European boxers now. They're like underestimated because we don't see them often in our boxing cards. And then they come over and we're like, oh, where did they drag this person out from? And it's like, oh, hello. Oh, he's a real champion. So he got some skills. So sometimes boxers overlook guys like that. And then they realize once they're in there with them, like, oh, okay, so you set me up. Oh, so you can counter me. Oh, okay. So you know that move. Like,
yeah.
I think they're kind of surprised sometimes.
He to me didn't give as much as Virgil did for his fight. Like, he did a lot of herky-jerky, but instead of wasting all that energy, he should have threw more punches.
He feinted to disrupt Crawford's rhythm, and he did that great, but he never worked off of his feint. Like, he never started the offense going from that. That was the one thing that was missing. If he could have done that, maybe we would have watched a different fight. But we're not used to seeing Crawford out of his rhythm. You know, and maybe it's like you said, a little bit of the ring rust, but I definitely think that Russian kid had a really good feint. Like, he was unpredictable.
Yeah. Not only the ring rust,
that awkwardness,
and to go in there with that guy with a ring rust, and to go in there with a guy that looked ambidextrous. He looked like he can go either way on you.
Yeah,
That alone is a problem.
I like the fight, and I almost went, but when I found out it was outside, I was like, oh hell no! In August, there's no way. I know. I was like, come on, Turkey. I don't know what you're trying to pull. This is not Saudi Arabia. We need AC over here, okay?
I mean, it was Southern California. It was LA. LA cools down in the evening a little bit sometimes.
No, my friend was there. Light? He said it was freaking hot. He said it was hot the entire night. He was like, no, Sakura, you did the right thing. Like, it was hot.
There's one fight I'm really excited for coming up.
Belinga?
Okay, who you got?
Bivol and Butterbiev. I cannot wait for this fight. I'm on the edge of my seat right now waiting for this fight.
We got to hear your opinion on that. Let's go. Give it to me.
All right, this is the last thing, and then I'll have to go. Fortunately, I got one of my guys I trained, Lionel Thompson, Lonnie B. His last fight, he beat Uzcategui. He's done 100 rounds with Butterbiev. So I got, one-on-one, Lonnie told me all about him. And he said, Butterbiev will hit you in the hip and ring your bell in your head. He said, every punch is as hard as it could possibly be. And, where Bivol is so technically sound, like his hands are always up. He doesn't overcommit. Like, he's always in the right position. Right. Butterbiev throws shots that don't look like they're hard, but still hurt you. And that breaks people down. And then he's really good at not making big mistakes until it's time to get you out of there. And when he gets you out there, he turns the punches up. I'm going with Butterbiev by knockout. But full respect.
He takes a hell of a shot too.
Yeah, yeah, and Bivol
I
is
like
not the biggest
BF.
puncher.
Right? I like Better BF for this because even though Bivol has that great jab, if you look at a lot of Better BF's fights, you know, he knows how to stoop down and go underneath or go to the side of that jab. And he's really aggressive, you know, like, and he's strong. So I don't think that it's going to hold off Better BF. I think he's still going to find a way to get in that circle, that zone. So
and Butter BF's punches come so awkward timing and from different angles and different places. You know, like how Canelo was the easiest fight for Floyd because Canelo was technical and sound and throw good punches. And then like you know, Manuel Augustus was the hardest fight for Floyd because the punches were coming from where you're not expecting it. This is going to be the same thing. Butter BF's punches, they're, you know, you think it's only from here to here and it's not going to hurt, and it hurts you. And he's showing you something here and there's a short shot up the middle. Like, it's going to be an interesting fight.
Berlanga, Canelo. Come on. Might as well one more. Berlanga,
Canelo. Man, my
okay.
guy Lonnie schooled Berlanga in Top Rank, sparring with him. I don't think he's got anything for Canelo. I think he's a fun kid to watch. He's a good puncher, but he doesn't have the IQ that Canelo has yet.
That's why I said he got to go at him early. He got to go throw punches and bunches and hope he gets lucky. He got to punch his chance.
Yeah.
You always got to punch his chance in every fight. Okay, Coach, we know you got to head out. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Can you tell everybody where they can find you at in Vegas if they want to, you know, learn some of that sweet science that you've been privy to for so long?
Yeah. We got a gym in town that one of my boxers set up. Is called Nemea, NEMEA Boxing. We also got a YouTube channel where I'm teaching a few courses in it in case you want to watch that. And then eventually we'll put the Roger stuff up at some point. Yeah, but I'm in Vegas. I'm at the gym every day. So, and then on Instagram is Chris Ben-Tchavtchavadze, all one word. That's hope.
I just followed you today, so you got to follow me back.
Okay, I'll look at my phone and I'll follow you back.
Chris, how often you bump into Jeff Mayweather out there?
He sends me some kind of funny, goofy meme every day, but I don't run into him as often as possible. But I can reach out to him. I can reach out to him for you.
Send him my regards, man. It's a good dude. We met a long time ago in Mississippi.
I sparred Jeff Mayweather before. That's how far we go back. You took it easy on me. He took it easy on me.
Thanks for coming on, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
He's a really cool person too. He's really nice and soft spoken and
I like Jeff a lot. Cool. He's just good people.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Coach. Tell your family we said hey from Boxing Playhouse, and we'll be in touch soon so we can have a part 2 for you.
Come back.
I would love to do it. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
next time we'll have one of your prospects to come on with you.
Sounds great.
Good luck in Puerto Rico.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
Cheers.
I'm very surgical, physical when I'm lyrical. So bat it down with medical, something critical. It's gonna take a miracle. Bright lights, but the spiritual written down like biblical. I finally reached the pinnacle. Yeah. Welcome to the house. The one they talking about.